longtime resident of Monroe County and concerned about some things. To help sell the idea of a nuclear plant to the Monroe County public, it stands to reason that DTE would draw on any perceived benefits the plant would have for the local area. One of these, of course, being that, one of these being that the jobs created by the construction and operation of the plant. In this county, hard hit by layoffs and plant closings related to the automobile slump, the prospect of lots of new jobs would certainly pique public anticipation for a better economy. At first glance, it would seem that DTE's promise of thousands of temporary jobs and many hundreds of permanent operational jobs should be taken as a great positive. But closer examination reveals a much less attractive picture. Competing for the same public support and financial resources is the renewable energy industry, that's solar and wind, etc. In these tough economic times, it must be asked, which area of energy generation will benefit us most? Which would give us the biggest bang for the buck? One study, cited in Environment America report, used the example of the largest currently planned, this was 2008, new nuclear plant. It's the Calvert Cliffs Unit 3 in Maryland. According to one study, it is expected to generate 4,000 temporary construction jobs and 360 permanent jobs. Assuming a typical cost for a nuclear plant is about $7 billion, each of those construction jobs comes at a cost of $1.75 million, with the permanent ones at a whopping $19 million per job. Another study, also from Environment America, states, according to the Nuclear Energy Institute, a 1,000 megawatt nuclear plant creates 400 to 700 permanent jobs. Building a nuclear reactor would result in the creation of 1,400 to 1,800 jobs during construction. Using the best of these numbers together, this works out to be almost $2.5 million per job. DTE's own figures, as found in the environmental report, indicate an estimated maximum of 2,900 construction jobs and up to 700 permanent jobs during operation for a total of 3,600 jobs. DTE estimates the cost of construction at about $10 billion. This works out to be about $2.8 million per job, most of which would be temporary, that is less than the 8 years of construction. And of course, who would pay for these very expensive nuclear jobs? The electrical customers of DTE, of course, through higher utility rates. By contrast, another study indicates that investing $100 billion in energy efficiency and renewable energy over 2 years would create 2 million jobs. That works out to be only $50,000 per job. Or in other words, that's about 0.05, that's 5/100ths of $1 million. I'll compare that to these previous numbers for nuclear jobs. So still another study says, study after study has confirmed that a renewable energy sector produces many more jobs. Wind, like solar, produces 5 times as much employment as nuclear per amount invested. And what about those Monroe County automotive job losses? Could those unemployed folks count on stepping into the nuclear construction jobs of building a Fermi 3? Not likely, unless they are experienced carpenters, iron workers, equipment operators, mechanical workers, electrical workers, boiler makers, pipe fitters, sheet metal workers, insulators, painters, or millwrights. Now, how many of those auto workers would fit into one of these categories? Now, from what I've studied so far, it sure sounds like the construction and operation of Fermi 3 would be a real economic boondoggle. We'd be much better off to invest our resources in energy efficiency and renewable energy sources such as solar and wind. And with your permission, I have a friend who is going to speak tonight, and she came down sick today. She just wanted to make one quick point. Again, it has to do with safety concerning something at Davis-Besse. She's concerned how can this type of problem be dealt with in the future. It has to do with an Ohio jury convicting a former nuclear plant engineer of misleading regulators about the worst corrosion ever found at a U.S. reactor. It's along Lake Erie. Could delay a shut. They're prosecuting a guy for a worker for lying so that the Davis-Besse plant could delay a shutdown for a safety inspection. Months later, inspectors found an acid leak that almost ate through the reactor's 6-inch thick steel cap. The guy was convicted, and the Toledo Court of concealing material information faces up to 5 years in prison. She was concerned, how can this safety problem be dealt with in the future? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.